Can the dollar survive as the world's reserve currency with rising inflation? For nearly 80 years, the US dollar has held the crown as the world's reserve currency. From oil contracts in the Middle East to global shipping settlements, the dollar is the backbone of international trade. Central banks, corporations, and governments rely on it because of its liquidity, stability, and trust built after World War II. But today, a new question echoes louder than ever. How long can the dollar keep that title while inflation eats away at its value? To understand the stakes, we need to step back in time. The system that made the dollar supreme began in 1944 at Bretton Woods. Back then, the dollar was pegged to gold and other nations pegged to the dollar. It was simple, solid, and trustworthy. But in 1971, when the US abandoned the gold standard, the dollar became a pure fiat currency. Since then, its strength has depended not on gold, but on global confidence in America's economic power, military reach, and the depth of its financial markets. Fast forward to the present, and inflation has become the dollar's greatest weakness. When the Federal Reserve prints trillions in new currency to fund government spending, rescue markets, or finance wars, it dilutes purchasing power. Foreign holders of US debt feel the sting. The bonds they bought in strong dollars repay in weaker ones. The silent tax of inflation is not just hitting Americans at the grocery store. It's hitting entire nations that rely on dollar reserves. So can the dollar remain the reserve currency under these conditions? The answer is both yes and no. On one hand, yes, the dollar remains the least dirty shirt in the laundry. Even with high inflation, no other currency can yet match the US dollar's network effect. The euro lacks unity, the yuan lacks trust, and no commodity standard is scalable enough to replace trillions in daily settlement. That's why, even during the inflation spikes of the 1970s and the massive quantitative easing after 2008, the dollar never lost its crown. Its dominance comes from momentum and necessity. But on the other hand, no. Each wave of inflation chips away at global trust. BRICS nations are openly seeking alternatives. Central banks are quietly stockpiling gold at record levels. Countries are testing bilateral trade deals in local currencies, bypassing the dollar entirely. At the same time, the explosion of blockchain technology and tokenized assets is creating new neutral settlement rails that don't rely on Washington's printing press. Every printed dollar accelerates this search for an escape hatch. The likely future is not an outright collapse, but a transition. The dollar could remain the world's reserve currency in name, while shifting in function. Instead of physical cash or treasury bonds, the US might roll out a digital dollar, CBDC, a cleaner, programmable version of the fiat system. Meanwhile, settlement could migrate to neutral bridges like XRP, tokenized gold, or other ISO 2022 compliant rails. In this model, the dollar still sets the global price tags, but the actual movement of value happens on faster, borderless networks. This dual system would allow the US to preserve its financial influence while acknowledging that the old system can't stretch forever. Inflation is a powerful force. It doesn't just raise prices, it erodes trust. And once trust cracks, the reserve crown begins to wobble. History shows that no empire holds monetary dominance forever. The British pound ruled for a century, then gave way to the dollar. Today, the dollar's supremacy is still strong, but the cracks are visible. So the final answer is this. Yes, the dollar can survive inflation for now, but every printed dollar speeds up the countdown clock. The world is preparing for the next phase, a hybrid system of fiat, digital currencies, and tokenized settlement layers. The US has two choices: adapt and lead, or cling to the old rails and risk losing control. Either way, the future of money is already being written, and inflation is the pen. If you want to stay ahead of the shift, subscribe to LTL Productions. Here we break down the forces reshaping money, crypto, and the global financial system before they hit the mainstream. Don't miss the next chapter in the story of the Internet of Value.